Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we simulated more of the season, and our team's figuring itself out, which is good. We are 33, 24, and 4, as you can see at the moment. The one thing that's been a little bit of a problem, and it's been a problem pretty much for the last few years, I would say, in my opinion, is that we haven't been able to really score a ton of goals. You can see we're a pretty strong defensive team, but definitely our power play and goals for per game need some work. So likely in this episode, we're going to be trying to address that a little bit, get a little bit better scoring, and then hopefully we continue to assimilate decently enough that we're going to finish in a playoff spot. And then hopefully once we get into the playoffs, we can kind of figure things out and go on at least a deep run this year. I don't know if this team's good enough to win a Stanley Cup, but a deep run would be kind of nice just because we are approaching the end of this franchise mode. So hopefully we can at least get one more good run with this team before everything decides to end, because this could be the last year of Crane's career. Same with Harris, who we brought in last year. So obviously it would be nice to kind of get one more chance at that Stanley Cup. So anyways, with that said, let's get you guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will get into potentially making a trade to help us out offensively, and then we'll also simulate the rest of the regular season. So the first and only comment is from Sour Talk, who says, I always love a hockey trade, so Pritchett for Schmaltz straight up sounds decent, though you'd also have to move a skater. Plus a low-end draft pick for one of those top 6 defensemen is worth the risk. At this point, you're in desperation mode. So basically, he's saying do that trade that we were looking at in the last episode, because when we went to find trade for this one guy that actually is a pretty good goal scorer, he was one of the highest shooting percentage players in the league, which is Schmaltz. He looks actually pretty decent. Like, he's not a crazy high overall player, but if we go to find trade here, the trade would be actually with the Ottawa Senators, who were playing literally in a couple of days, which is kind of funny. But if we go to the right wing side of things, you can see that they have this Schmaltz guy. He is only a medium top 6, only an 81 overall at 24, so he's not the craziest overall. He's also signed for 2 years, which is kind of nice. But he's not like the craziest player in the world based on overalls and attributes and role and all that type of thing. But you can see that he's currently on a 30-goal season at this point. He only has 153 shots as well, so he's shooting 19.6% right now. I don't think he's going to be getting as much ice time with us, so he probably won't be shooting as well and he won't be scoring as much goals. But I'm hoping that maybe he could be somebody that we could bring in that will help us out with the goal scoring problem, because like I said, our offense right now hasn't been a huge scorer. So bringing in somebody like Tommy Schmaltz for a maybe probably we'd use him more as like a fourth line right winger, because there is a player I want to move potentially, and we would also be putting him on the power play too though, so that way maybe he has an opportunity to score more goals. But I feel like it's kind of lucky that he's assimilating this good offensively, because his shooting categories are good, but he's not like the craziest player in the world in terms of attributes and all that. He is a two-way forward as well, which is kind of strange. It's not like he's a sniper, so I don't really expect him to simulate that good with our team, but I'm hoping that obviously he could be maybe one of those underdogs that could kind of come into the lineup and score some goals for us and just try and make us more competitive come playoff time. So likely we're going to go and try and trade for him. So we're probably going to end up getting rid of one of our goalie prospects, which was Pritchett. There is also some other trades that we're going to do potentially, like Siren Taku was mentioning. We should probably try and upgrade our top 6 defensive pairings. So likely we will be end up trading away a player on our roster to basically get ourselves a better defensive core, because if we look at the defensive core as well on paper at the moment here, I don't really like the pairing of Strombo and Jersina. I feel like it needs a lot of work. Obviously Svedberg is very close to making it too, but we're pretty much looking for a rental type player. Like, I could put Svedberg in already if we really wanted to, but I think I might want to wait till the final season to do so. So basically instead though, we would need to find somebody to replace either Strombo or Jacina. Probably it would be Strombo that would have to leave, just because likely if we do find ourselves a defenseman, it would be on the left-hand side of things. So we will probably look for an upgrade of defenseman, but we would have to move out of forward first. Now, you guys are probably like, which forward would you move out basically if you are to bring in that guy from the Sens? Now, if we go to our lines here, there hasn't been really anybody that's been underperforming, I would say. Like, we are getting good depth scoring despite not being a hugely great offensive team. But there is one player I would probably lean towards trading. Now, technically, I would probably want to move somebody in the top 9, just because that's technically where I would want to play a good goal scorer like that guy that we were bringing in. However, I was looking a little bit more in depth at the fourth line, and the fourth line to me has been a major issue just based on the plus-minus department. But if we go to the guys like Lysak, look at the defensive stats, 92 defensive awareness. Then you head on over to somebody like Gerard instead, who we just brought in this season, 91 defensive awareness. So those two guys, fantastic defensive stats, but they're not simulating the best. But the one player who kind of concerns me is Pollock. He's only got an 82 defensive awareness. He's only got 74 on faceoffs despite being a centerman. Meanwhile, that Schmalz guy, when we were looking at his stats, I don't know if you guys saw, I don't know if I even showed you guys, but he actually has 71 on his faceoff. So he's not much worse. He's not technically a center, but maybe that's a spot where we could throw that 81 in technically as a fourth line center and then also give him some power play time. So I'm thinking, even though I really liked how Mohamed Pollock played a few years ago in the playoffs where he had 8 goals in 12 games, I'm thinking Pollock's probably the guy to move out here. His plus minus hasn't been super good this year as well. Last year took a big hit from his rookie season as well. So I think even though I really do like Pollock, I think moving him out basically with a pick or like even a really high up pick or a couple picks, basically to upgrade that top 6 defensive spot instead of Strombo would be good. Obviously, Strombo would have to probably get moved in that deal as well, I guess, technically, if we do that. So that's probably something we lean towards. And then I'll probably move Ekblad already just back up into this top 4 spot just because we're trying to upgrade our top 6 pairings, basically, so that way we're a little bit stronger defensively, too. Even though we've been a good defensive team so far, might as well try and throw everything at the kitchen sink, so to speak, and try and get ourselves a good run in this playoff run ahead. So I think we're going to first go, basically, we're going to try and bring in that... maybe we should try and trade Pollock into defenseman first in Strombo. Pollock and Strombo in a pick. We'll try and find that first to find that defensive pairing guy. And then, like I said, we'll probably end up trading... basically that goaltending prospect who has, I think it was elite potential for that Schmaltz guy, so it's a lot to give up for a guy that's only going to be playing 4th line and power play, but he is a 30-goal scorer right now this season, and like I said, I think he could help us out offensively if I could find a way to get him enough ice time. So with that said, let's go to, I guess we will look at, let's go find trade for a second here, and just see if there's any defensemen that get offered for basically the guys that I want to give up here. If there's not, we're going to obviously have to try and get out some trades, but it is what it is. So, Pollock, and then like I said, I think Strombo's got to be the guy. It could be also Jersina potentially, but I probably prefer Strombo. Strombo is minus 11 right now. Jersina's only a minus 5. So, Strombo probably on the hot seat here. And then what if I threw in, like, say, a draft pick? Like, we have 2 third-round picks, so what if I threw in... I guess technically our own 3rd round pick into this deal? Would there be anything found on an open block? There would be, but it's nothing we need right now. It's a goalie and a 5th. There's a 3rd, a 4th, and a top 9 prospect, a top 6 forward prospect in the 3rd, a top 6 forward prospect in the 3rd. A lot of prospects involved, which I'm not trying to get prospects, so I might have to re-edit our trading block here. There's also a defenseman that's pretty solid, signed for 3 years, but a little bit of a high cap hit. And then there's also this one. I don't think Kanov's somebody I would want at 7.4. He'd probably be too good for a top 6 pairing defenseman. So I think we're going to readjust our trading block here a bit and see if we could get maybe a different offer instead. And if we don't, like I said, we'll have to find ourselves a top 6 defenseman that we want potentially for that top 6 pairing. Hopefully they're a good fit here regardless of who we bring in. But let's go to trading block. And we will go to our wants and adjust this. And we will change this to, we'll just adjust everything to basically more veteran-heavy players, basically. So 27 and above, and we'll go 3 to 5 stars, I guess, just to make it more broad. So that way there's potentially more offers thrown to us. We'll also go defensive, of course, because that's what we're kind of trying to find is a defenseman. We're probably more looking for, like I said, like a top 6 defenseman. But if they're a high overall defenseman, it's maybe not the worst case scenario. But we're going to definitely just do 3 to 5 stars here. And we'll do the same with goaltending as well. That way we could just see if there's any veterans that teams would actually be willing to give us. Because we're not really looking for those younger players at this point. So we'll just go with that. And we will see if there's any offers thrown at me for those guys again. If there's nothing, like I said, we'll look through some potential trades and see if there's any options out there that would fit our top 6 pairing quite well. So This might be a little bit of a long episode depending on how long it takes me to figure these trades out, but at least we kind of know who we want to trade already, just because I did a little bit of pre-scouting. Like I said, Pollock kind of sucks to move out in a way. I do like Pollock, but I just don't think I think he's probably the worst player pretty much in our lineup at the moment, which is kind of a tough thing to say because I really liked how he played, like I said, a few years ago in the playoffs. So there is still 13 trade offers, and I think they're all the same offers we were literally just looking at. Like, they didn't get adjusted at all, despite us adjusting our block. Yeah, this Plekhanov, I don't think he'd be good. I think he'd be too good, probably. Let's just double check to make sure, though. So Plekhanov at 7.475 with a 7th round pick. He's signed for 3 years. He's only an 83 at 29. He's actually pretty solid. But I feel like he's too good to play on a top 6 pairing. Like, he's definitely the type of guy you would want more so in your top 4. And he would probably complain about his ice time here. 19 points this season. He's pretty solid. Yeah, he's actually pretty solid. I think he's won a cup too, right? Yeah, he's won a Stanley Cup, but I think that's probably too good. If he was only signed for 1 year, I'd probably lean towards it, maybe. But since he's signed for 3 years and also because he's a top 4, I'm not going to take it. But I do appreciate that offer there, Vegas. Let's go through some teams now, I guess, and just see if there's a top 6 defenseman out there that would probably be more of a top 6 defenseman. That would maybe make some sense. Maybe we could get back another draft pick in the trade as well while we're at it. But let me remove my face just so you guys can actually see all the overall details and stuff. Let's see what we got here. Actually, maybe I should go to player search. You know what? That might be a little bit easier. So let's actually put my face back on screen. Well, we'll go to the player search function and see if there's an interesting top 6 defenseman out there. We'll just look through the entire league at top 6 defenders, pretty much, if I could do that. So we'll go defenseman. Player role, we'll go top 6. And preferable handiness doesn't really matter, I guess. But we'd prefer probably a left-hander since we're moving out Strombo. But let's go with that. We'll make minimum age like, let's go 25 to 50. And let's go a minimum of 3 to 5 stars, I guess. That probably would work. All right, let's see what we got here. So if we look now, I'll remove my face so you guys can see all these details. Let's see what we got here for top 6 defenders. If there's anybody with 1 year left, I guess. 1 to 2 years left. Not a super high cap it either, if possible. So there's Oscar Oduya in Colorado right now. He's -3. He's a 2-way defenseman. I prefer probably a full-on DFD at this point for that top 6. And there is Bannister, who's in Ottawa, who also used to play for us, which is an interesting one. But I think I'm not going to bring him back. Yeah, I like his defensive play, but I don't think I want to bring him back. I could have brought him back in free agency, but I didn't. Liam Johansson in Florida. He's an OFD. Probably not a great idea for the top 6. There also is former Islanders prospect Timo Salo. That what kind of intrigues me a little bit just because we drafted him and immediately flipped him at the draft for Mäkinen. So, damn. He played in Buffalo, went to Carolina, went back to Buffalo this season. What's his contract like, did it say? 1 year at 5.9. It's a bit of a high cap hit. He has won a Stanley Cup. He kind of fits exactly what we need at this point. Should I do this for the memes? Bring back a guy that we traded at the draft. Like, basically did what happened to, like, Luka Doncic in the NBA. Gets drafted and then traded. A lot of NBA players, I guess, do that, but... Since we have the cap space... I might be interested in doing something like that. Timo Salo in Buffalo. He doesn't have any extension, right? Yeah, no extension in place. He's interesting. There's also Neil, who is a fantastic defenseman that has won cups in LA before. Has beaten us in the finals. Has very good defensive stats. Is playing good defensively again this season. He's a career plus 380. Holy moly. This guy would definitely be probably better than Salo. He is a righty that shoots left. But he's an 80 at 38. What was he listed as? Top 6. He's definitely another old guy. But kind of getting those old guys together sometimes works. I kind of want Salo just because we drafted him, but Neil's probably better. Shot blocking's only an 81 at this point. What's the defensive look at Salo again? 3-star defensively. 90 shot blocking, 88 stick checking. The only reason Luke Neal has better defensive stats is because of the awareness. Alright, we do have some options. Obviously, Neal's cap hit is quite high at 6.3, though, too. So, that's an interesting one. Let me actually write down some notes on this while we're talking here. Trying to figure out some trades. I know the last few episodes of this, I've been working really hard on deals, but this is just to try and get us that Stanley Cup, man. If we could get the Stanley Cup this year, I will never have to worry about winning a Stanley Cup with the Islanders again. And I probably would never do another franchise move with them again after this one, to be honest, but never know. Okay, so we'll also write down Salo in Buffalo as a potential option, so that way we could go back to the find trade option afterwards. Johansson's not bad either, but he is an OFD. I'd prefer, like I said, DFDs at this point for that top 6. There's also Luongo in Carolina. Carolina -7 is a DFD, but doesn't have great awareness. I probably wouldn't take that, to be honest. There's also Tarasov, who's in Florida. Two-way defenseman. Good awareness and stuff, but I prefer a DFD. There's also Trey Cutler, who was a free agent. He's also a two-way. Like I said, prefer a DFD rather than two-way. Jack Chen, also a DFD. Only 3-star defensively. I probably wouldn't put him. There's Pirietta. Only a 79 defensive awareness, but good shot blocking and stick checking. He was drafted by us. I completely forgot about this guy too. And I don't know why, but he's actually made the NHL. He's 34 years old at this point. 286 career games. Why have I forgotten about this guy? Did I trade him to a team, or did I just never sign him? I guess I never signed him because he debuted in Pittsburgh. Unless I traded away his rights. I don't remember. Wow. It's kind of weird when you see guys that you don't even remember whatsoever. He's got a very low cap hit, but he's only a 78. There's also Peck here, too, who I recognize from some playoff series, I think. I think it's got to come down to Neal and also Salo. Neal's a righty but shoots left, so he's kind of similar to I think Jersina shoots right as a lefty, or actually he shoots left as a righty. I don't know, vice versa. I don't remember. Let's double check on that. Yeah, see, Jersina also is like Neal in that sense. He shoots left, but he's a right defenseman. As for Strombo, being a left D man that shoots left, that's basically what Salo's like. So I'm almost leaning towards Salo, but Neal's definitely the better defenseman. But we need to look at the fine trade option and just see who would maybe cost more. Obviously, we're going to be sending people that they don't want necessarily. Maybe they do want some of the players. Let's go to actually propose trade instead. I know I'm taking a while on making these deals again, but I think this is for the better. So let's add those players that we're thinking of moving and seeing if any of these two teams have more interest in a specific player. So if we move Pollock, Strombo, and we were saying a third, but we could easily move more than a third if we really want to. So let's add that to the deal. Let's go to Buffalo to start. Buffalo only has interest in the 3rd round pick. That would be to get Salo. Columbus has interest in Pollock and Strombo, but not the 3rd round pick. The thing I don't like about trading with Columbus for Neal as well is it's in the division, and both of us are in the playoff spot at the moment. So basically, there would be a chance we'd have to run into Pollock and Strombo in the playoffs. If I trade with Buffalo, Buffalo is not in the playoff mix really that much because they are 30, 31, and 1. I think they're last place in the Atlantic because the Atlantic's really strong. I think Neal might make more sense here. Actually, not Neal. It would be Salo that makes more sense here. Salo is not as good defensively for sure in his career, but he was drafted by us. We'd have to give up, I guess, not as much. Buffalo is probably going to fall out of the playoff mix, so it kind of makes sense that they'd want to move on from a player. I think Salo's interesting. Let's take a look at the trade values and see how close they are, because maybe that'll make an easier decision. So if I go, they do also want to move our former defenseman Lindsay, but he's too good for our top 6. He's listed as a top 4 right now. So, but Salo, very low trade value, very low. Like, we're giving up more value here. We wouldn't even have to give up a pick. We could easily just do Pollock and Strombo, and we could get back Salo and a pick potentially. So this probably would go through as is. If we went to Columbus, how is Neal's trade value? Neal's trade value is also quite low, but Columbus would be over 45 skaters. So I think the deal we're going to do is for our former draft pick in Salo. Would he ever want to come here after how we treated him at that draft? Probably not, to be honest. But I think he fits exactly kind of what we need at this point. And if that helps us out, that'd be pretty cool. Like, maybe the major problem we made was trading Salo away when we drafted him. He's got, like I said, good shot blocking and stick checking. His defense awareness, not the craziest. Like, definitely Neal's better there. But I think Salo's pretty much exactly what we're looking for. He's pretty much exactly what we're looking for. Obviously, his career plus minus in playoffs and stuff like that, not the greatest. But he did win a Stanley Cup with the Ottawa Senators. So I think we're going to do Pollock and Strombo for Salo. Can I get anything else in this deal? I don't really want to take back a fourth. I don't really care about picks that much at this point. Trying to think if there's anything else that we could take in that would also help us with a playoff run. Let's double check on this. Magnuson that they also have would be maybe a good depth defenseman. He's actually listed as a top 6, though. There's Page. Depth defenseman, it's only 22. We already have pretty much good enough depth defenseman. Trying to double check if there's anything we need to really add. I feel like I don't really need to add that much at this point. They are trying to offload some decent players. There is like some depth forwards, maybe like Moss. But he's listed as a 4th line guy. Dadonov signed for a 2-way deal. More of an offensive-based player. How much career NHL games? Wow, he actually played a lot of NHL games. He's 26, but he is listed as a depth forward after... He got dealt in and he never played a game afterwards. Like, he had a 43-point season one year. This guy's actually not that bad. But is it really what I need for a depth spot? Probably not. Pielmeyer, 78 at 25. Sniper. How good is his stats? Career AHLer. Not the craziest offense awareness and stuff like that, but does fit our bottom 6. And I don't think I really need stuff like that. I think we're probably just going to say a draft pick, even though at this point draft picks mean jack shit to us. Let's add that 4th round pick and see if that works. If that 4th rounder doesn't work, we don't really need the pick even anyways. But Pollock and Strombo to Buffalo for Salo in a 4th round pick. That will help our defensive core get a little bit of an upgrade with Salo over Strombo. And then we have to still make that other trade to basically get in that other guy from the Sens. So will this work? And that's accepted. Okay. So Pollock and Strombo are on their way to Buffalo, so not too far from where we play. And we have a new top 6 defenseman, and his name is Salo. And obviously we drafted him so many years ago. And he's finally going to get the chance to lace up a game with the New York Islanders, which is kind of exciting. It's kind of exciting. So let's put Menino in the spot just for the temporary use. And then we'll go here to defense and get Salo onto our top 6. It's not a -3, right? It's got to be better than that. Let's double check. It's a -2. Why does it always affect chemistry bad? Let's go with something maybe like this instead. Yeah, okay, I guess I could go with Ekblad and Salo. That works. But I do think that makes our defense a little bit stronger, hopefully. And then goaltending is good too. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is obviously make that trade for the guy in Ottawa. So let's go back to find trade here and just see if they still have that same offer as they did in the last episode. So 30 goal scorer Schmaltz. We want you. We are looking at all these other options. There is other options like Buckley and Jersina, Karostin and Jersina, Svedberg and 2/3. Govin as 2 6th-rounders, but this one, Pritchett for Schmaltz straight up, is not bad. Obviously, we do give up an elite goalie prospect, but we don't really have the time to develop him. He's a 65 at 20 as well, which is not necessarily great, if I'm being honest. So we're giving the Sens a goalie prospect that they want. We get Schmaltz in, and like I said, I'll probably play him as a 4th liner with power play time. So we're going to do this trade. Pritchett for Schmaltz. We signed for 2 years, and that trade is done. So Like I said, fourth line, power play, that should be enough. I would love to get him into the top 9, but there's not really a realistic way for me to do that with all the guys on this team. Like Harris, I could maybe move down in the lineup. Harris actually has good face-offs. Do I want to promote an old, or demote an old guy like him? Maybe. You know what? I might honestly demote Harris instead to that fourth line center position. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. Just because Schmaltz has had a great year, putting him onto a top line with some good players right now might not be a bad idea. I don't really like demoting Harris at all, but considering he's a sniper and all that. But Harris also actually has good face-off stats, so we'll put Harris down the middle on the fourth line, but Harris is still going to have some power play time, so that should be okay with him, hypothetically. Let's double check on this. He should have power play time, which right now he doesn't. I'm going to put him on the second unit. Schmaltz will go on the first power play. But, yeah, we have a lot of similar type of players, but I'm hoping that we could capitalize on Schmaltz being a good goal scorer, potentially. Who do I want to take off this power play? Let's take Ashton off the power play. Now maybe I'll take Jocelyn off. Jocelyn's been good offensively so far, but Jocelyn is a two-way, so we'll take Jocelyn off here. And we will throw on the second unit. Who is on this one that I didn't want? Let's move Dempsey to our second power play. Trying to make sure we get as much people ice time as possible, which is very tough to navigate, but let's do that. We'll take Dempsey off this first one, and we'll get Schmaltz onto the first unit. So he's basically going to be hopefully getting as much ice time as he was in Ottawa, and hopefully we could capitalize on this 30-goal season that he's been having. So that is our trades for the season. There's no more moves we're going to make in this episode, and that might be almost all the trades we make in this entire series because we only have 1 year left after this. So is this team good enough to win a Stanley Cup? I honestly don't know. I don't think it is, but who knows? When you least expect it, you can win a Stanley Cup. So now comes to the time, if those fits, that players we brought in, if Salo is going to help us out defensively, and if Schmaltz is going to find ways to score goals. He does get to play against his old team right away, which is pretty funny. So we'll definitely have to take a look at the box score from this game as well while we're at it. But let's go to a day past the trade deadline. We'll take a look at how Schmaltz did in his first game, and we'll see what other trades went on around the league just in case any former players got dealt. So let's go to the 7th, and we will see what trades went down. But I think those trades hopefully should work out well. It's just all about Schmaltz and seeing if he's a good goal scorer like he was with the Sens. All right, so there's a player on waivers. It's a depth defenseman. I don't think I really need much more depth defenders. He's a defensive defenseman with good shot blocking and stick checking, but he's got bad awareness, so I'm just going to decline on that. And wow, we just got destroyed by Washington on the trade deadline, but we beat a good Ottawa Senators team. So, interesting. Let's take a look at how Schmaltz's first game against his old team did and see if he's already got his first goal as a New York Islander or not. Hopefully he does. If he doesn't, it's not a huge loss, but like I said, I'm hoping he could be a good goal scorer, and it looks like he already has 2 goals in 2 games since joining us. So, I don't know if those came both against his former team. The answer to that is no, 1 in each of those first 2 games. So, he is a very high percentage shooter this season, and that's another reason why we brought him in. He's already got 7 shots on goal in 2 games as well, so power play goal, he's already immediately stepped in and helped us address those areas that we needed to, which is offense and power play. So if he continues like this, that was a huge move for our team. But he could obviously slow down completely too while we're at it, but that's really, really nice to see. I'm really hoping he's exactly what this team was looking for a while. Let's take a look and see if there's been any former players dealt this year, which I doubt there will be. But we'll still take a look anyways, just for fun, or any names we recognize. Not that any real players are really left. There is Leo Carlson still playing, but aside from that, I think it's mostly generated, which is kind of insane. Matty Haken, is that our former defenseman or the other Haken? I always forget what our former Haken's name was. I think it was different, because I think Chicago had their own Haken. So I don't think that's the one that we used to have. Aside from that, there is not really anybody else. Oh, wow. That Plekhanov defenseman we were looking into got dealt multiple times. Dallas got him in a second for a guy in a third, and then immediately flipped him to Seattle for a third, and some other guys. So, some interesting asset management. Aside from that, looks like the Sens loaded up on defense, which is interesting because they're obviously a good team right now. Not really seeing any guys I recognize too much here. Huh, alright. Well, anyways, Timo Salo's on board. We didn't actually take a look at how his first game was. He used to play for the Sens too, so we might as well take a look at Salo's first NHL game with the New York Islanders. Well, it wasn't first NHL game, but it's just kind of cool that he's now in our lineup after all these years. Like, I didn't ever think he was going to make a game with our Islanders team, but he's a -1 in 2 games. Not necessarily ideal, but we did just lose 5-1 to the Caps on the deadline, so kind of makes sense that he would not be super good in plus-minus. So, anyways, let's continue assimilating. Hopefully locking in a playoff spot here. We are third place in our division. We should be one of these teams that make the playoffs unless we completely fall off. So let's go 1 week at a time, take it a little bit slow, which I know this episode's already been 30-something minutes around, but might as well take this rest of the season slow just to hope that we actually do make the playoffs. We do beat Columbus 3-1. Philly is a 5-4 shootout win, and Boston's a 3-1 loss. So still some inconsistencies, but definitely doing decent enough. Like, having at least 3 wins in 5 games is good. It's better than going 0-5. Let's go another week. We do actually have a game coming up against Pollock and Strombo in Buffalo, which their team is probably going to miss the playoffs just because of how stacked the Atlantic is. I think Ottawa's also not even in the playoff spot, or at least last time we checked, because that Atlantic division is so crazy. We beat Philadelphia 7-5. We do lose to Buffalo 3-2, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. New Jersey 4-2 win, and lose to New York 5-2. So definitely still not consistent, but we are second place in our division, which is good. We're only 5 points up on the Rangers, though, so we got to be careful of teams like that just because the Atlantic division is already crazy. Like, if we were in the Atlantic, we would not be in a playoff spot at the moment. So we need to lock in one of these top 3 spots, basically, to confirm a playoff spot. So just got to be careful not to lose like 5+ games in a row. Let's go through another 3 games. Columbus, Philly, and Montreal. See if we can get some consistency in our game. Columbus, 3-2 shootout win. Nice. Philly is a 5-4 loss. Not great. Montreal, 5-3 win. All right. Still some inconsistencies, but we're 4 points up on the Hurricanes. So the Hurricanes are also trying to fly into that playoff mix. As for the wild card in the Atlantic, it's 82 and 83 points. So there is a chance we might end up falling to a wild card team if Penguins and Hurricanes and stuff like that catch up to us. Or Rangers even for that matter. But it is a very tight race in this Eastern Conference, as you would normally expect. Alright. We got Washington and the Rangers. These are 2 pretty big games. Washington at the moment is near second last in our division, so we don't care too much about them. We should be able to beat them, but last time we played them, we lost, so maybe not. Rangers, on the other hand, are a team that are definitely trying to catch us, so we got to be very careful with them. So can we find a way to win both these games? First one against the Caps is 5-1 loss again, and then we lose 6-1 to the Rangers. That's not great. That's not great whatsoever. 2 terrible defensive games and no offense whatsoever. We have dropped to 3rd place in the Metro. We're only 2 points up on the Hurricanes with 1 more game played. Oh boy. And we're 1 point back of that wild card. So we got to be very, very careful here. We cannot afford to lose multiple in a row. This is literally going to come down to the last day of the season, isn't it? If we're a playoff team or not. Holy moly. Okay, well, 7 games to go. We need to make sure we win at least like 5 of them potentially. Just based on like the teams that are outside the playoffs. Like, we don't need to worry about Montreal, Ottawa, and the Sabres too much because they're just trying to get into wildcard spots. But we got to be very careful of the Hurricanes and the Rangers. The Flyers are pretty far out of it, but the Hurricanes and the Rangers are the top teams. We do have games against a lot more non-playoff teams, I think, coming up, which is good, but we got to be still careful. Let's go through this game against Buffalo, and if we get destroyed, maybe we need to make some adjustments already. Let's see what happens. Buffalo is another terrible game. 5-1 loss. We've lost 3 straight games. We've allowed 16 goals in those 3 games and only scored 3. We need to make some adjustments here. Holy shit, man. I am scared now that we're going to miss the playoffs. Let's move Crane to the third line for something small. Let's move Jocelyn to the top line, Mackin into the second line. I don't really know at this point. I don't even really know if there's anything specific that's going wrong. But holy crap, man, I am nervous all of a sudden because if we miss the playoffs this year, those trades were absolutely for like nothing. So that doesn't work unless I go with that. Let's move Smith to the top 6. Sure, that works, I guess. Yeah, that works. And then hopefully these young goalies figure it out a little bit because those last few games, absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Oh my God, I am so nervous that this team might choke away its playoff chances. Because we've just fallen out of a playoff spot now. We are 2 points back of the Hurricanes, the exact same amount of games played. We're also tied with the Rangers. I literally have a really bad feeling in my stomach. Really bad. Because this team's been making the playoffs every single year pretty much of this franchise as of like the last, I'd say, 10 to 12 plus seasons. And this year we're absolutely fighting our asses off trying to get into a wild card spot. So now we actually want to be able to find ways to beat these Bruins and Canadians in those wildcard spots as well. Like, I would take a wildcard spot at this point. I don't really need a divisional spot, but goddamn. Okay, here we go. We got to go one game at a time here because this is absolutely crucial. First game against Utah on home ice. Please, boys, figure it out. Figure it out. The answer to that is no. Oh, my God. We're choking so hard. Oh, we've literally played so bad the last 4 games. 5-1 loss, 6-1 loss, 5-1 loss, 4-1 loss. The EA voodoo is literally slapping me even harder than it has in the playoff mix. And we're now 2 points back at the Hurricanes, same amount of games. 3 points back of the Bruins, same amount of games. Oh my God, please, boys. I don't really know what I need to do at this point. Let me go to edit lines here, and we're going to move Harris back to the top line, and we're going to put Schmaltz as that fourth line center just for something. I honestly don't know what to do at this point. Let's actually go Kazanov top line. We need to make some random ass friggin' adjustments at this point. Let's actually go Dempsey there. Harris could play with Ashton and Crane. Whoo, I am so nervous because this team might have just choked in the worst possible time. I have not had a choke job like this in a while. Let's go with Ekblad and Salo again. And I don't think I could really do anything goalie-wise. I am so friggin' stressed. Why is this team doing this to me? Why? And all of our stats are starting to drop off too. Like our goals against has dropped off to 15th because of our last few games too. Please, boys. Figure it out. We might actually have to do real-time simulations, but I don't even know if that's a good thing to do. Okay, well, here we go. We got 5 games left. This is a big game against New Jersey. They're not a good team right now. 27, 38, and 12. Please win this game. Get off the schneid. Figure this out. Get me in the playoffs. Let's do it. Oh my friggin' God. 6-4 loss. This team has lost 5 in a row. And all of a sudden, the playoffs are looking very bleak. We are 4 points back of the Hurricanes, same amount of games played, with only 4 games left on the season. And we're 3 points back of the Bruins, same amount of games played. So we could still catch the Bruins in for a wild card spot. We could still jump up to third, but we need drastic results. The Leafs have to do me a huge favor here. A huge favor. And the Leafs are a good team just because the Atlantic Division's been so tight. There's not even really anything I could do. There's honestly not. We just made a bunch of random line adjustments. I don't think there's anybody in the AHL that could come up here and do a really crazy job to get us into a playoff spot. Our AHL team's killing it right now. There is guys like Neil Terry and all that and Howes and such like that too. But I don't know where I could slot them in. There's also Hybert, Jensen. Maybe I should have traded one of these guys instead of Pollock or something, but goddamn, man. I mean, I could call up people from the AHL, but at this point, I don't really know. Did those trade deadline trades backfire? I don't feel like they did, but I just don't know why this team is all of a sudden struggling. We're 3-7 in our last 10 games, and there is a high chance that this team is literally going to choke and miss the playoffs. Frig, man. This is the ultimate choke job. Ultimate. Like, even though we technically lost so many, like, cup finals in a row and all that, this is even worse, probably. Like, I definitely don't want to do another Islanders franchise mode again after this. Once the series ends, I don't think I'll ever go back to the Islanders. But who knows? I went back to them for sentimental reasons more because they're the first years I ever did. But they've just slapped me across the face. Because if we really miss the playoffs after all this, we have one season left, and the team probably won't ever have another chance at the cup again. Like, this is potentially our window slapped in our face. Or not really even slapped in our face, just closed in our face. Oh my god. We got to do real-time simulations for all these games remaining potentially at this point. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm just procrastinating because I'm preparing for the worst at this point. But let's do a real-time simulation. We need to win probably all these games remaining at this point. But there is teams we're facing that we could jump potentially in the standings and all that. But we need to find ways to win. Get off the schneid, boys, please. And so far we're getting outplayed in shots. But the goalies are playing decently here, at least early on. Normally I don't like doing real-time simulations for regular season games. But at this point, we have nothing to lose, right? Or actually we have everything to lose, I guess, technically. But scoreless after one, shots 10-9. Let's keep it going. Let's see if we could find a way to score more goals, because we haven't really scored a lot of goals in this month of April so far at this point in time. Come on, guys. Come on, Schmaltz. I brought you in for goal scoring purposes. Can you score some goals? Maybe Salo even? I don't really know. Hey, Jocelyn. Somebody who we actually brought in recently, I guess. Makes it 1-0 Islanders. So far, so good. Shots are 22-18. Let's keep it going. This is a big third period here, boys. Let's get some insurance, lock it down, and hopefully we can find a way to win in this next game against the Leafs as well. But real-time simulation might help us here, hopefully. Hey, Dempsey makes it 2-0. Nicely done. Lysak makes it 3. Oh, well, at least we're going to win one game here. Schmaltz makes it 4-0. Oh, my God. The stress is so friggin' annoying, man. I love franchise mode, don't get me wrong, but my God. I've seen too much choke jobs, and this is maybe the biggest one if we don't end up finding our way back. So nice 4-0 win in Toronto. We are now tied with the Rangers with one more game played. That's not ideal, that one more game played. We are 2 points back of the Hurricanes with one more game played. And then in terms of wild card, we are 1 point back of the Bruins, same amount of games played. So Boston, I am coming for your wild card spot, man. Please. I'm coming for it. Obviously, the Leafs are trying to get into the playoffs, too, at the moment. And same with the Sens. Even technically Buffalo, but Buffalo is, I think, mathematically eliminated almost because the Atlantic Division's so tight. But here we go. Let's go to another game. We're going to keep the team the same. Another real-time sim. We need to find a way to win this one. We can't be losing any games here. And if we win this game and somehow Boston finds a way to lose, maybe we could take a wild card spot. Like I said, I will take a wildcard spot over a divisional spot if we do find a way in. Ragnarsson opens the scoring on the power play. The good thing that helps us, maybe, we have a double agent in net for Toronto, which is Pedro Hainsey, who used to be an Islander. But then there is a former Islander that just scored on us in Lockhart. So they have a double agent of their own. Ashton makes it 2-1. Nicely done, Ashton. Holy moly, man. This game never fails to stress me out. Playoffs, regular season, you name it. Absolutely crazy episode. I didn't expect to be like this. Like, when we made those trades, I expected us to finally, like, just get some insurance and lock in a playoff spot, but no. We had to make it dramatic. Holmstrom makes it 3-1, so that's a pretty big goal at this point, but they pull within one. I feel like that guy used to be a prospect of ours, too, that Aubrey guy. I'm pretty sure he was a prospect of ours. I could be wrong with that, but I feel like he was. Anyways, third period, we are up still by a goal. Let's get some insurance, please. Boys, thank you, Ashton. Again, short-handed goal. That's a big one in the third. That's an absolutely huge one. Is our team starting to figure its game out a little bit more? Imagine we just do all this just for a first-round exit. 5 makes it a 4-3 game. Final few minutes, and we do lock it down. So there's back-to-back regulation wins. So that's pretty huge at this point. But like I said, is this all just going to be for a first-round exit? It could honestly be, but that's a huge win to keep our chances alive here. Let's go to that game against Washington. And where are we now in terms of standings? We're still not in the playoff spot. We're tied with the Rangers in points, but they do have the wild card spot just because of, I guess, ROW probably. And meanwhile, the Bruins have fallen out of a playoff spot, but they do have a game in hand now on us in New York because they did not play the other day. Oh my god. This can't get any more crazy. Okay, well at this point, the Hurricanes also have not clinched on 90 points, but they have played 79 games only. So technically, I think at this point we need to win both these still too. So let's keep the team the same and see if we can beat Washington. We've had some bad luck with Washington in this episode. We've gotten beaten by them 5-1 2 times. We need Harris to step up against his old team here. And let's see if we can win 3 straight. And we have one more game left after that. But, oh my god, this is so freaking stressful. Why, man? Why couldn't it just be an easy cakewalk? As they make it 1-0 early on. I don't know what's with us in Washington, but we've had bad luck with them. Kazanov ties the game up. Another shorthanded goal. So, shorthanded goals in back-to-back games. Because last time it was Ashton, this time it's Kazanov. Oh, man, I can barely even breathe just thinking about these playoff. I hate sounding like I'm whining all the time, but man, this game, 1-1 after one, shots are 11-11. There's a lot of ones, which maybe that's good luck for us. Maybe it means Daniel Alfredson. Who knows? Can we find a way to get that lead? We're on home ice, boys. You got to do it for your fans. Talusti makes it 2-1 Caps. Not ideal. Do we have a response? Yes, we do. Kazanov scores again. Nicely done, Kazanov. He's been probably one of the better players this season, but he is a pending free agent, and Ashton scores too. Ashton's been scoring in back-to-back games. That's great. Oh my goodness. Shots are 23-20 in favor of the Caps. It's a 3-2 lead for us going into the third. Let's breathe, and let's find a way to lock this game down in the third. Let's find a way to get it done, boys. Power play for us. We do not score on it. And now we do score, and Ashton has scored again. Ashton and Kazanov have come up huge in these last few games, I feel like. So, very happy with that. But obviously, kind of nervous about the out-of-town scoreboards, because that could dictate the playoffs still, too. And your New York Islanders are going to win 3 straight. Cialfito, our former player, tried to scare us, but not scared enough. And that win could help us potentially lock in a last playoff spot. Maybe. I didn't want to actually look at those stats because I don't want to see those amount of goals scored by people yet. I wanted to look at that afterwards. So how's the updated standings? We have now taken that wild card spot, but let's go to this last game of the season and take an updated look at the standings then. This is when it matters the most. We are still in the wild card spot. 90 points in 81 games. The Rangers could have only a max of 90, and they're on 81 games played. So if we get even 1 point, I think we may be secure. Maybe not actually, though, because the Ottawa Senators are also on 90 points in 81 games. And then there's also the Bruins on 89 and 81. So the Bruins could still finish with 91 as well. So if we win this last game, we clinch, I think. Let's double check the ROW in the Eastern Conference. Let me actually hide some stats here just because I do not want you guys to see any team leaders or anything like that. I do want to just take a look at the standings here before we get into this last game of the season. How close is this playoff race? So right now on ROW, we are on 38. If we win today, we're on 39. So the Rangers would not be able to catch us. Technically, I don't think they can catch us. Actually, I guess they technically could if we lost in regulation. But technically, if we win, we'd have that tiebreaker, of course, and stuff. But they won't even be able to tie some points that way. So technically, this playoff spot here is very close to being locked. But the one thing I'm a little bit scared on is the Ottawa Senators in the Atlantic, who we obviously made that trade with, too, which is kind of scary. They are on 37 ROW at the moment. Montreal has not clinched a playoff spot either, though, despite being in the wild card. So maybe that gives us a chance to knock somebody like Montreal back if we win and Ottawa wins. They're both on 37, and I said we are on 38. So the most they could get is 38 ROW, but they could still finish with 2 more points than us. So, yeah, a win would go a huge way at this point. So, this is a pretty crazy game. Oh, I didn't want to see the player stats. I didn't want to see Ragnarsson was leading us with 72 points only, man. Oh, well. I could definitely see why we haven't won that much games because our goal scoring is kind of a mid in that sense. But it comes down to this. Pittsburgh versus the Islanders. They're second place in our division. They're only 3 points up on us. If we win this game in any fashion, I think we clinch a playoff spot. If we lose in overtime, we could still clinch. But obviously, a win is much, much more important at this point. This is probably the biggest regular season game we've had in quite a while. Let's get into it. We're on home ice. I don't know if I want to make any line adjustments in going into this game, but let's see. The team's won 3 in a row. Let's breathe. And let's see if we can win. I am so nervous for this game. I almost want to close my eyes for the entire thing at this point, but can we beat Pittsburgh and hopefully find a way to lock in this last playoff spot? They opened the scoring. Not great. That's not great at all. Not great at all. But we do answer, which is good. Mäkinen scores. Dempsey scores to give us the lead, so that always scoring early is not necessarily a great thing because you always seem to bounce back or the other team bounces back afterwards. So for us, that's good. 2 goals, 20 seconds apart. Power play for us late in the first. We do not score on it, but we will have the lead after 20 minutes with the shots 11-9. All right. Just got to breathe. It's the first period, man. I think I need some water here. I am nervous as shit. This is the most stressful regular season game maybe we've ever had in any of our franchise modes at this point. Our playoff chances are on the brink. We just got to find a way to get it done. Second period underway. Can we find a way to get some insurance so I could breathe a little easier? Please, boys. Or just play great defensively. And Tervika ties the game up at 2. That's not great. Penalty kill. Kill it off, boys, please. Kill it off. Kill it off. Oh, my God. Why? Whoever took that penalty, you're a friggin' dumbass, man. But Lysak answers back to tie the game up. That penalty kill scared me, though, and the fact that they score on it. But at least Lysak answers back. The game is tied at 3-3 going into the third. We could technically watch this entire third period just because it could be Crane's last game, but I don't feel like I really want to watch AI right now. And my voice is also trying to die on me, so 23-19, the shots in favor of them. It's a 3-3 game. It's anybody's game. Like I said, 1 point would be good. 2 points would be a very big thing for us. So I want the 2 points, but we need to find a way to have a strong third here. We cannot sit back. We cannot take penalties. Who took that penalty in a second, though, speaking of which, because I want to know about that. It was a mix between our top guys. Actually, multiple guys, for that matter. Within like a 5-minute span, we took 4 penalties. Smith, Salo, Ragnarsson, and Crane. You guys got to be disciplined, bros. This is the big game. Okay, well, I procrastinated before pressing X, but we got to get this done. We got to rip that Band-Aid off. Third period underway. Can we get that lead? Can we get that lead? Come on, boys. Or just play great defensively, at least for this third. Come on, let's get that one. Oh my God, this is so stressful. Why is this game like this sometimes? I have so much stress, anxiety, and all this other things. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to overtime. So we do get a big point. A big, big point. And since this is overtime / shootout, regular season, at least this will go by a little quicker. We're going to jump in. If it was the whole third period, I would not have wanted to do this, but we got to do this just because this could be big. We could get into the playoffs just barely. Like I said, this could be also the last time we see guys like Crane out there. So, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's watch overtime. I don't think we've watched a 3-on-3 overtime in a franchise mode ever. And I don't think we've ever watched a shootout. So who knows? Maybe we'll watch a shootout as well. But let's watch this. and see if we could find a way to get that winner. Overtimes are so stressful already, but with it being 3-on-3, this is going to be absolutely crazy. All right, so it's Mäkinen at the draw against his fellow Finn in Pettinen. Mäkinen ties up, Eskalainen gets to it, so another Finn gets to it. Nice poke check there by Holmstrom. Here, Eskalainen throws it back all the way into his own zone rocket pass. Nobody will get to it. Even off for the Penguins, we'll just dump it. That's kind of weird that you're trying to dump it in a friggin' 3-on-3 overtime. Ragnarsson gets to the puck, can't get by, now he's got it again. Come on, Raggy. He just kicks it up. I almost said dicks it up. Oh my god, this is so stressful. We already made a line change, I guess? Yeah, Schaefer's out there now. Ivanov with the puck, shoots it. Big save, Irwin. Okay. I'm not used to watching regular season games in the slightest. Like, this feels like a playoff game just because of the scenario. If we could just find a way to get 2 points, we lock that playoff spot. 1 point could get it done still, but I am nervous as hell if that doesn't. Mäkinen at the draw, can't win it. Ivanov for the Penguins, throws it over to Deming, over to Waters. Waters finds Ivanov, he shoots, big save, Irwin. Schaefer with the puck now. We'll play it all the way up. Here is Ragnarsson. He's a fast skater, so he can't get by, though. Here's a chance for the Penguins. It's Deming. Deming over to Waters. Waters gets a backhander. Irwin will save it. They almost have full pressure in overtime, which is not what we want to see. Only got a couple minutes left because these 5-minute overtimes go by fast on fast time, so we're almost into the last minute of overtime already. Jocelyn on the draw. We brought him in. Can he win us against Dupuis? No, he can't. Craig. Dupuis shoots and he scores. Oh, no. God damn it. Maybe I should have just played through it. I'll let the sim engine do its work. But the Pittsburgh Penguins win in overtime. And will that loss in overtime hurt us? Will it make us not a playoff team? Will we still get the playoff spot because we got 1 point? We'll find out in a second. God damn it, man. Holmstrom had 2 points in that game. Dempsey 2 points. That was a pretty back and forth game. But if the Pittsburgh Penguins knocked us out of playoff contention, I'll be pretty pissed. I don't really like the Penguins in real life already just because of knocking out the Sens in the playoffs and stuff like that. But, oh man. Crane wasn't even out there at all in overtime. I wanted to get a screenshot of him maybe one more time, but this might be the last time we see him in games, so we might as well just go through the bench here and find the man, the myth, the legend. Even though he has no cups at this point, but let's go down to here. Turn this a little bit. And let's move that up a bit. And let me move my face just so I could get a nice little screenshot of him on the bench. Because, like I said, that could be the last time we see him. It could be the last time we see him. All right. Well, let's rip off that Band-Aid. Did that overtime loss knock us out of the playoff spot? Or did we clinch because we got at least a point? I am so nervous, man. Please, 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 Hockey Gods, please. Playoffs. Yes. Let's go. Oh my goodness. We barely scraped by. We finished in a playoff spot. The Rangers finished with 90 points. We finished with 91. And the Ottawa Senators and the Bruins also finished with 91. So, just because of that ROW, I think we barely squeak in. Now, is this the year we're going to win the Stanley Cup because we barely made the playoffs? Maybe. If it's not the huge loss, but goddamn, man. I don't think I've ever had a season like that come down to the last game early. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. Playoffs in the last day of the season. And I think it just said Schmaltz had 67 goals this season, but that could be combined from like preseason and stuff, so it might be glitched out. Because there's no way he scored 37 goals with us down the stretch with how our team was. There's just no way. That's probably combined with him and Ottawa. So let's go to some stats here. Let's see what ends up happening in terms of our regular season. So let's go with that. And I already saw who led the points, but we already kind of said that. Anyways, in terms of, I guess we'll go to the entire league. We are probably the last team that actually made the playoffs, right? No, there was a worse team. The LA Kings barely made it in too, but we literally beat out Ottawa in terms of that getting that last playoff spot because of the ROW. Thank you, ROW. Thank you. It's just unfortunate the Sens didn't knock Montreal out, but whatever. All right, in terms of goals for per game this season in offense, not the greatest, but it did improve. I feel like maybe not. Goals against per game, we end up allowing more goals than we scored, so that's kind of strange. Defense wasn't that great down the stretch, as we saw with those 5 games in a row or whatever it was. Power play percentage, we were one of the worst on the power play, and penalty kill was not the greatest, man. We don't have a lot of good stats. Is this team going to find a way to win a Stanley Cup with some mid stats? Because that would be the most Islanders thing ever. 10 short-handed goals, though, this season, which is one of the most in the league. 21-17-3 on home ice, 22-17-2 on the road, 4-5-1 in our last 10 games. Let's take a look at some stats here. Let's actually make it a little bit more dramatic and do it by each position again. But my God, this was one of the most stressful seasons I think I've ever had in the franchise mode, just in terms of trying to lock in that playoff spot. Anyways, in terms of player stats, Mäkinen 62 points in 82 games. Solid season for Mäkinen, but this could be the last year we see him as well. Will he retire at the end of the season? Tough to say, but at least he's now playing with the guy he was traded for in Salo. Ashton on 50 points, Jocelyn on 49. Not bad. Menino only played 3 games. Obviously, we traded Pollock. We'll take a look at maybe his stats if I remember. Left wing side of things, Ragnarsson on 72 points. Good season for Ragnarsson at the lead the team. Kazanov on 67 points as a pending UFA. We'll see how much he ends up costing this offseason. Hopefully I could get him back for the last year. Crane on 47 points. Definitely a slow year for Crane. His offense is finally starting to dwindle. His defensive play as well. I'm hoping he has a good playoffs, but this is probably the last we see of him for sure. Trotter on 38 points. He had a really good first half, but he definitely slowed down a lot in the second half. Gerard on 24 points. Not bad as a rookie. Markstrom only played 9 games, but 4 points. Right wing side of things, 37 goals from Tommy Schmalz. So he joined us, had 2 goals in his first 2 games. Only scored 5 more goals after the fact, and only had 12 points. Yeah, I didn't expect him to do as much with us, but maybe he will figure it out again in the playoffs. But at least he did give us some goal scoring. But yeah, not as much as I was hoping for. Harris 51 points, solid for Harris. Dempsey 41, Lysak 22. Okay, looks like some decent depth scoring, but not crazy high-end scoring. Holmstrom had 56 points, plus 18. We had Smith on 21, Schaefer on 21, and a plus 17. Ekblad 15. Jersina was still really bad. He was still not great. Salo, since joining us, how good was he? He was actually a plus 1. So I would say that's a win, I guess. He was definitely better defensively than Strombo was. So not necessarily the craziest results, but I will definitely take it. I'll definitely take it. There's also Odette, who only played 5 games. Goaltending-wise, Bergenheim had a 909. So Bergenheim still was the better of the 2. Irwin was not the greatest. But both these guys could start in the playoffs potentially. We'll probably start Bergenheim again, and then Irwin could be the backup. And then maybe, who knows, maybe we'll flip-flop between the 2 of them all playoff run long. All right, let's quickly wrap up the rest of this because we do not have... This episode's already over like an hour just because of how dramatic the ending was, but I did want to see our former guys. So how did Pollock do as a member of the Sabres? 2 goals in 20 games. I mean, I don't think that was a huge loss then. Didn't really provide much offense for them. And then Strombo with them as well. How was he? Even 0. So he's actually pretty solid defensively in Buffalo. Only 2 assists in 20 games. All right. And then, of course, we also made the trade with Ottawa, but that was just a prospect involved. All right, quickly take a look at some stats around the league. So the best stats for forwards. Noonan led in points, 108. He also led in goals with 67. Best defenseman this season, Langfeld in Anaheim with 65. Our former defenseman, Erzberg, is up there. Just funny. Goaltending-wise, Nicholas led the league in wins again this season. He was second in shutouts, or tied for second. Yeah, tied for second in shutouts. The best save percentage by a starter, Nicholas. Oh, man. Is Nicholas going to win literally a Vezina, though, after he just won a cup last year? Yeah, he is. He probably is. So shout out to Esteban Nicholas, who's likely going to be a Vezina Trophy winner with the Edmonton Oilers after he just won the Stanley Cup and he just had a crazy playoff year as well. If only he would do that for us, huh, man? Any goalie goals? No goalie goals for fun. Most of the points, 5 assists from Nicholas. Goddamn, man. He does it all. And then Tarasov was the best rookie, him and Dackle. Technically, Dackle will win it based on plus-minus, though. All right. Oh, man. I am glad we made the playoffs, but, man, that was way tighter than it needed to be. But maybe that's what we need, is some dramatics, so that way when we're in the playoffs, we are used to dramatics, and maybe we can win a cup that way. But we will be taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. And Columbus has been an interesting team. We've played them so many times in this year, but this year they look like they're a very good team. As you can see, second in goals for, sixth in goals against, third on the power play, and sixth on the penalty kill. So maybe we could cheese them. But they are definitely a strong team. And if we could become that cheese team that beat us in the playoffs years ago, we might be able to go far. But Columbus looking like this: Jyrki Hakkarainen, Eric Lyon, and Kimmo Kuka. We played a lot of these guys before. There's also that Isaiah Hunt guy who's a good goal scorer we were looking into maybe a few years ago. Wes Kidd, interesting name. Adrian Finley, who was drafted the late first round a couple years ago, already making it. Third line has Peyton Barrett. They also have John Greening still, who we looked into at one point, and Devin Agostini. And a fourth line of Pascal Moreau, Kirill Ovechkin, who used to play with us briefly. He was a guy I brought in the, I think it was the Bjorkstrand deal, and he didn't really pan out here. So he ended up being a free agent right afterwards. But yeah, not a crazy player, I guess. But it is kind of weird that he's a second line forward, but he's playing fourth line minutes. And they also have Tiny Eichel, despite being 6'3". So that forward group is pretty solid. It's definitely kind of turned a page since they had, like, I think it was like Jackson Jacobson and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty solid forward group, not the craziest. Defensively, they do have Jesper Donskis, and there is that Luke Neal guy I was thinking about potentially trading for, two-time Stanley Cup champion, but I decided to bring in our former defensive prospect in Salo instead. Did I make the wrong call? Potentially. This guy's a really good lockdown defenseman. Everywhere he's been, he's just been great defensively. Even one year in Dallas, 1 year in Utah. Yeah, he is maybe a Hall of Fame defenseman, to be honest. 583 points is pretty good, but plus 386. You don't see plus minuses like that really very often. So shout out to Luke Neal, but it's going to suck playing against him. Second pairing has Jack Chen and Nathan Cyphers, and a top six, Kimo Perns and Colin Hemingway. Interesting. Goaltending-wise, they do have still that Tristan Moore guy, and they also have Jimmy Smithson, who I don't think we've ever seen before, but they did draft him 5 years ago. Scratched-wise, they have Vyacheslav Kulikov, or Slava Kulikov. They also have Toby Spencer and Stanislav Safronov. Yeah, they're definitely a strong team. I'd say good offense. Defense is pretty strong in the left-hand side in these top two, but like I'm surprised they simulate that good defensively, but it could be just because Neal and Chen are great defensive defensemen. Their goaltending solid too, so I think this is going to be a tough task for us, but if we embrace that cheese, maybe, we can maybe beat anybody. So final thing, let's take a look at what Columbus's players were doing during the season, and then I'll be it for this episode. Once again, apologize about the length, but it took a while about making those trades early this season, and then obviously that dramatic end to the regular season as well. But yeah, Hakkarainen and Lyon are the guys to watch out for. Cook had a good season too. Same with Kidd. Looks like they had some pretty decent depth scoring. Aside from that, what about their defensive core? Yeah, some good plus minuses. And then goaltending results. Smithson was technically the worst of the two, but he played 2 more games. We've ran into Moore before because Moore's always been their starter since Chimera left them. And this was his best season, so I don't really know which goalie we're going to end up facing in the playoffs. It's probably going to be Moore, but Smithson might get some games in potentially too, depending on how Moore plays against us, I guess. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode in our Calendars franchise mode. So, in next episode, we will take it to the first round of playoffs against the Columbus Blue Jackets, as we look to find a way to beat them and maybe embrace that cheese status. Like I said, we barely made it into the playoffs. Obviously, I don't feel like we're going to have a super good run because of that, but if we find a way to be one of those teams that somehow barely make it in and win a Stanley Cup, that would be awesome. but this is potentially going to be one of her last chances to win it, because if this team just barely made it in this year, just imagine what would happen if we lose Crane, Harris, Makinen to retirement. I think this team might end up missing the playoffs potentially in the last season. So hopefully we can find a way to have a good run this year and build upon some disappointing years the last few years. So let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.